All right. Before I end the video, I should do one more thing to really complete the picture. Let's see how we can do JUnit testing in Android Studio. Let me go back here, and then click on Project, of course. And now, where can we find it? Let me close the resources over here, and then you can see there is one folder here with test, not the Android test, not that one there. We wouldn't touch it. Under test over here. You can see we already got example unit test over here, and the easiest thing for you to do is simply to rename it. Okay, right click on that, and then like how you rename a class in Eclipse. So you will go for refactor and also go for rename. Okay, so typically we only get one single JUnit test class in your project. Okay, so here we can say test counter over here, and then say refactor. Okay, just test counter. Okay, you might be given test cases for your lab number 7, lab number 8, in which case you can simply just copy and paste the file into here after renaming. Okay, you will see instructions in your lab. Let's click on that over here. You can see we already imported the JUnit assertion over here, right? Let me just do one together with you, right? You can see exactly the same syntax as you have been seeing in the Eclipse, right? The same syntax. So now, why don't I simply say test counter 1? Okay, you can feel free to add more test cases over here. So we can say counter C is assigned to new counter, for example, maybe 23. Okay, and since it's from another package, so we gotta import it. Move your mouse over and then say import class over here. So the counter will be here. Okay, and then after 23 over here, we can say c.get value, so it should be expecting to be 23. So one thing, one aspect you may want to get used to about Android Studio, like it or not, you always give you some annotation over here, which don't get confused. It's not really part of what you have typed. It's simply just a reminder about what 23 is about. It's the value argument for the counter, and 23 is what's expected for the assert equals. Some people might find it useful, but it could be annoying sometimes, right? Anyway, so that'll be the first one, and then I can do just one more. So c dot increments. After that, if I try to say assert equals, I should get 24, right? All right, let's now try to run the JUnit test. There are several different ways to run it. You can see if you go to the line for the class, you will see there is an invoke button here to say I can run the test. Or if you want to run individual tests, you can also click on the triangle icon over here. Just run individual one, right? Or simply do what you did for Eclipse. From Eclipse, you can simply right click and then you say run test counter. And then what you will see over here is you can see you gotta, so there's no green bar, unfortunately. You only give you a green check overall. If you got, for example, more than one tests, and then if any one of them fail, you would have get a red check, right? You will see that for the lab, right? I don't need to bother you with that, okay? A final piece I need to show. What about debugging? Debugging is extremely seamless to really transition from Eclipse to Android Studio or vice versa. They really support debugging in a very similar way. Okay, let me just show to you. For example, if I want to debug a particular test, right, I can simply put a breakpoint, simply single click on line number 17. For example, you can see breakpoint over here is simply the red one over here, right? Pretty much like how you put the breakpoint for Eclipse IDE. Put a breakpoint, and then you can see there is a bug button over here about debug test counter, right? If you click on that over here, now we have launched the debugger, right? Slightly different from Eclipse. For Eclipse, you will switch from Java perspective to debug perspective, but for Android Studio, it simply shows you just another panel, right? Just get used to it. And you can see now we are actually over here. You can see, so this the line being highlighted in blue in my case is, so we're now pausing a line number 17 right before we execute this particular line over here, right? And we also got a normal 3 choices: step over, step into, and step out, right? Let's see this. Let's move my mouse over. So you can see this button here: step over, and also step into, and also step out. So these are the 3 that correspond to your Eclipse. For others, you can explore with them, or just come to me. We can speak about it. Okay, but these are the 3 you need. For example, I can simply say step over. As soon as I say that, you can see the counter is under variables. Counter will be the objects I have created already, right? You can see expand C, you got value will be 23. That makes sense. And then I can say step over again over here. And now I want to see exactly how C.increment works. I can now say step into. If I say step into, I'm going to switch the context from the test counter into the counter class, right? So if I say step into, you can now see I'm now in this particular increments method over here. And this will be the counter object, exactly how we interpret that in Eclipse. So this value will be 23. So now we are right before we execute line number 15, right? You can see that it's highlighted in blue. If I say actually step over again, step over here, and then it's going to show it's being incremented to 24. Okay, so that's a very handy tool. You should really maintain your practice about using debugger like how you did it for Eclipse. So in case you run into any issue for your model classes, you can always debug the JUnit tests. Okay, it's really important. Alrighty, I think that will be about it for showing to you about how to debug over here. All right, let me see if there's anything else I would like to show to you. Okay, we don't seem to have the expressions. You remember in the Eclipse, you actually got the expressions panel over there. I don't seem to see that by default over here, but I think you can simply just use the variables over here. Oh, you know what? Let's see here. Show watch. How about this? If you click on this, the glasses icon over here, let's try. If I click on that, okay, I see. You gotta click on that. You can see there's watches over here. Watches are like expressions in Eclipse. I was thinking about it. I think that'll be useful. If I say here, okay, so now I'm now in the context of the test counter. So I can say this dot value over here. In that case, it will tell me it's 24, right? You can see it's an easy one. But my point is, if you click on the watches over here, it's just like the expressions that you did in Eclipse, right? So now you got both the variables and also you got the watches, okay? I can now stop the debugger over here. Okay, stop all. All right, let me go back to the project over here. So guys, let me recap in just a few sentences. So this week, we try to use the Android Studio to really apply what you learned in the previous 3 weeks of OOP knowledge. And then we see how we can visualize the effects of your program actually on some tablets, right? So that it's already been terminated, but you saw it before, right? It's just another way to visualize your program as opposed to console apps. However, in both cases, we try to write JUnit tests. It's ultimately the way to go for some competent programmer, because you don't want to rely just on some visual manual outputs that you got to check by your eyes. You want to really use JUnit test cases, okay? And then we also visualize about how you can execute the attach methods to the button over here. And also we visualize how the model object has been created and also shared by the various methods in the controller class, which is the main activity class, right? And finally, you should really make sure you really understand about the model view, controller, and also testing separation. Once you get through it, I think you will really have fun about developing your apps. All right, that's about this week. And then for next week, we're going to return our weekly tutorial video back to Eclipse to do more advanced programming on two-dimensional arrays. But for your lab number 7 and lab number 8, as I said, they will require you to complete them in the Android Studio. But you will be given JUnit tests to really help you develop the model classes. So you can still use the debugger and also JUnit testing idea as you learned previously. All right, see you next week.